Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Candid show. This episode is hosted by myself, Sriram and Krishna. So, in this episode, we are going to be talking about brain drain. Also, we are going to be discussing about the various factors and the various things which contribute to brain drain. And near the end, we are also going to discuss about the things or the measures which you can kind of take to control brain drain in our country. So, I'd like to start off by giving the definition of brain drain, which is that it is a process in which the country loses most of its educated and talented workers to other countries through migration. And this trend is basically a problem because of the fact that we lose most of our highly skilled and competent individuals to the other countries. So, most of their skills and expertise is basically used to contribute to the economies of other countries rather than the economy of our home countries. And we can also see that one or more ways to interpret brain drain is that it is a loss of academical and technological labor force to the movement of human capital from one place to another.
For decades, India's skilled professionals have preferred emigrating to the West in search of better jobs, high salaries, and higher standard of living. Today's millennials are keen to follow the same course, and today India is just a decade away from changing its status into developed and superpower nation. But unfortunately, history is repeating itself. The millennials are leaving the country, but this time in search of better standard of living and quality of life, and also for higher salaries, access to advanced technologies, and more stable political conditions across international borders to Canada, Australia, and other European nations. So, moving on into the next, the factors causing the brain drain is the higher education. So, higher education is one of the major reasons for permanent immigration. Considering the recent scenario of high cutoffs for admissions reaching close to 100% in top Indian universities, many students end up compromising on their dream of occupying a seat in any of the prestigious Indian universities. This urges them to explore the scope of higher education abroad and secure a place in good universities, as they have an advantage over other students studying in India in terms of skills and knowledge. Considering the global exposure and access to high quality life and facilities, not only do the students become reluctant to return home, even the country's skilled workforce decides to step out to match pace with their peers or who are doing well in abroad. At present, a lot of educational institutions in India are giving more importance to textbook education and theoretical learning, which in fact fails to equip students with skills that will make them job ready. So this ends up creating a wide gap between industrial requirements and academic knowledge. As per the latest Indian skill report, only 47% of students coming out of educational institutions in India are employable. This clearly points out to the need for broadened access to both formal, basic, and higher education systems, as well as investing more on reskilling and upskilling of the students and present workforce so that they skip the idea of stepping out of the country.
So the next important factor which I wanted to talk about is about the employment. So low salaries and inefficient working conditions are basically the most primary motives, or rather the fundamental motives, which kind of triggers to move people from one place to another, because we can see that there is a huge difference in terms of the salaries between the three groups of countries, namely developed, developing, and underdeveloped. So they can also unemployment is basically termed as internal brain drain, and the people are losing qualified personnel to foreign countries constitutes external brain drain. So the main problem arises from the fact that many skilled workers aim to get pleasing salaries to return for their labor, but their working conditions generally are not basically handled by their homelands, or generally their homeland generally does not respect their working conditions, or generally does not value their skills and do not pay them equally also in some cases. And this is one of the most primary reasons why most of the skilled workers prefer to move to other countries, because there is generally higher standard of living and they also are given better higher salaries also. And this is also one of the more primary reasons why unemployment is actually one of the strongest factors contributing to brain drain in India.
So, the another important factor causing brain drain is the lack of opportunity. In India, the graduates, postgraduates, and specifically skilled students do not get the right opportunities to further develop themselves and are unable to secure appropriate jobs to earn an income equivalent to their talent. With the dreams of development and in quest of better future, they leave their native land. This brain drain is a major loss to our country. India has given brilliant talent to the world, and it is a world known fact that the Indian brains are unparalleled. The main reason for unemployment is that the ratio of jobs to those seeking them is skewed. The skilled people do not get proper recognition and stimulus. This is because in India, people still live with the dilemma that opting for engineering, information technologies, and also for medicine and management are the only ways to have a successful career and lead a luxurious life. Students have to show their mental prowess in this field to stick with their jobs.
And we can also see that in the developed countries the research are generally provided with some kinds of funds or necessary equipment, and the government or any kind of institution for that matter kind of supports them in all of their endeavors, and that is why, or that is one of the most primary motives why most of these people are generally most of the skilled workers generally migrate to another country. And we can also see that some of the scientists also whose jobs are generally looked down upon, or rather most people generally don't want to be a scientist or don't go towards the career path of scientist, because generally they do not possess lab facilities, or generally they do not have any kind of appropriate funds, so it is very difficult for them. So that is also one or more reasons why they prefer to go to other countries. And that is also because most of these developed countries kind of have good amount of resources with them, and they can generally back up most of these small time researchers, and also they have better standards of living, which arguably defeats every single thing. And this is why, and this is also kind of like the basic thing or the basic factor which kind of pushes other people to move, is the fact that skill is not being respected in our country. So and they do not, and we do not invest in skill also, and this is the primary reason why researchers and scientists especially move to other countries.
So the another factor is the favorable migration policy. So the increasing economic interdependence among nations, growing and the growing demand for skilled labor in knowledge, a knowledge economy are all the strengthening factors that the position of India as a major supplier of young, educated and qualified manpower for the EU.
And we can also see that India has large reserves of highly skilled workers, and we have emerged as one of the most prominent countries to fill many of the supply gaps which are not filled in most of these developed countries. And we have kind of emerged ourselves, we have kind of promoted ourselves to a state where we basically are providers of skilled labor to many of these developed countries, which is very sad to hear actually. So as we near the end of the podcast, I'm going to discuss about the various measures or changes which can be done, which will kind of cause brain drain to reduce, or rather it can have a negative impact on brain drain. So the first one is tackling underemployment, and this is something which I think it can be done by any company, and this does not take a lot of time to implement. Also is the fact that companies should have a much more stronger recruiting policy, or they should have much more better screening procedures before actually taking in employees, because a person should be given a job based on his interest, on his caliber, on his academic merit, because we can see that most of the time this is not the case, and a very skilled person generally ends up getting a job where his skills are basically not used, or rather his skills are not respected, and someone who has no idea about the skill, or someone who has very minimal knowledge about the skills required for the job is generally appointed for it. And so underemployment is something which does not take a long time to implement in our society, in our everyday lives, or in our businesses also, because it is not something which is going to take a lot of resources, and it is only going to take a good management skill to actually implement it. And the next thing which I wanted to talk about is work culture. And it is very well known that a very good work culture or strong principles generally lead to a very good work culture, and we can see that most of these developed countries have very well defined work cultures, where they have proper rules and they have proper procedures of doing everything, they have proper protocols of everything. And this is where India kind of lacks, where we don't have proper rules and proper systems, and we don't follow certain work culture, we don't follow certain rules in the workplace, and all of this also kind of gives a hand in increasing brain drain in our country.
So, for balanced progress and development of the country, it is very important to stop the phenomena of brain drain. For this, the country should build proper job opportunities, healthy standard of living, and provide incentives to those hold these skilled professionals within the country. This cycle can only be reversed by collective effort of the country and its people. So this is the end of the podcast, guys. And if you have any kinds of comments, suggestions, or any criticism, leave it in the comment section, and we'll meet you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you all.